This is the moment when time asks for its price. Season 8 brings a choice that bends love until it almost breaks. Picture a gray sky, the wind holding its breath, and two people who have crossed years and wars now standing on the edge of a truth. They cannot outrun. You do not need to see their faces to feel it. You only need the sound of a voice that will not stop shaking, the rustle of a letter that should never have been written, and the ache that follows when a promise cannot be kept. Outlander has always lived where love and danger meet. From the first step through the stones, this story has been about holding on when the world says, let go. Every season has asked the same question in a new way. What would you risk for the person who is your home? We have seen battles that paint, the hills, journeys across oceans, and nights where the fire is the only light left in the world. We have heard vows spoken in quiet rooms while the storm outside waits for dawn. We have watched two people choose each other again and again, even when time pulls them apart and history closes its hand around their throats. That is the heart of this tale. Love does not hide. Love endures. But endurance has a cost, and season 8 makes us count it. The build-up to the most heartbreaking scene starts small, as true pain often does. A missing step in a daily routine. A pause that lasts a heartbeat too long. The cup is set down with care instead of ease. The air inside a home feels different, like a guest we cannot see has entered and taken a seat. There is no thunder yet, only the sense that something has shifted and cannot shift back. The camera lingers on small things that tell the truth. A hand that no longer grips with the same strength. A book left open to the same page for many days. A shawl folded twice, then folded again, as if neat edges could fix what is coming. Memories begin to surface like stones in a low river, a dance at twilight. Scar that once meant survival and now feels like a warning. Words spoken long ago return with new weight. Come find me. I will always find you. Season 8 turns those words in the light and shows us the shadow inside them. To always find someone means sometimes you must lose them first. To keep a promise means sometimes you must let go of a different one. The past is not just behind them. It stands in the room and asks to be heard. The world outside does not stop. To be kind, duty knocks. History demands its due. Letters arrive with news that opens old wounds. A friend asks for help at the worst time. A choice that once felt far away now sits at the table and waits for an answer. The ground under there. Home begins to move, slow but certain. You can feel the floorboards speak. You can feel the wind test the walls. The season knows that the loudest warnings are often silent. In this first rise of tension, the story gives us breath and then takes it away. We see how love tries to protect what it loves. We see how a smile is held a second longer so the other person will not worry. We see how truth is delayed with small talk about bread and weather and candles. It is not a lie, it is mercy. But mercy cannot stop what is already walking toward the door. Every soft moment becomes a sign. Every laugh rings with a thin edge. You listen more closely because you are afraid you will miss the last time a simple day feels safe. By the end of this section, we understand the shape of the storm. It is not a single blow from an enemy. It is the long hand of time, the pull of duty, the slow turn of fate. This is the road to the scene that will break us. It is built from kindness, habit, memory, and fear. It is built from the courage to keep loving when loving hurts. And when the door finally opens and the choice finally stands up and speaks, we will know why our hearts are not ready, why they must still face what comes next. The most painful storms do not arrive with thunder. They come in whispers. Season 8 shows us this with careful steps, letting the heartbreak grow in shadows before we ever see it in the light. There is no grand announcement, no warning bell. Instead, it is found in the way Jamie lingers at the door as if he is memorizing the shape of home. It is in the way Claire's eyes pause on his face, as though she already knows what words he will one day have to say, but hopes she is wrong. This quiet dread is not built on one scene, but on many small threads woven together, and we feel them. Tightening in these moments, the series returns to what makes Outlander more than a love story. It is a study of time, of how it takes and gives without asking. Jamie and Claire have fought against time for years, They have bent it, outrun it, and crossed it. But in Season 8, we are reminded that time is not a battlefield we can win. It is a tide. You can swim against it, but sooner or later it pulls you back. This knowledge hovers in every scene like a shadow that cannot be shaken. The heartbreaking moment grows not from sudden loss, but from the knowledge that loss is already waiting, and there is nothing to stop it. The setting around them mirrors their struggle. The Scottish air feels heavy. The house, once warm with laughter, now carries the silence of questions left unspoken. The hearth burns, but the fire looks tired, as though even the flame knows its time is short. Every sound matters, the creak of a chair, the scratch of quill on paper, the hush of wind against the window. These ordinary details become extraordinary because we sense they will soon vanish. The show reminds us that heartbreak does not come only from the big battles, but also from the small moments that slip away unnoticed. Claire tends to her work with steady hands, but there are pauses now. Looks down at tools she has used for years, her mind clearly somewhere else. Jamie, in turn, is quieter than we expect. It's not because he has nothing to say, but because he carries a weight he does not yet know how to share. Their silence becomes its own kind of dialogue, one where every glance is a sentence and every touch is a plea not to let go. The brilliance of this part of Season 8 is that it builds heartbreak by reminding us how fragile, ordinary happiness can be. A shared meal, a story told by the fire, the feel of another hand at night all. These are treasures. But they are treasures the world does not promise to keep. Watching them hold on makes us ache, because we know what they are trying to protect cannot last forever. By the end of this stage, the viewers are left with a strange mix of peace and fear. We see love at its most gentle, but we also sense the blade hidden beneath it. This duality is the quiet preparation for the scene that will shatter us. It is the calm breath before the cry, the steady hand before the release. And it lingers like a clock ticking louder in the silence of the room. The heartbreak of Season 8 does not strike like lightning. It seeps into the story like rain, drop by drop, until the ground beneath our characters is soaked with sorrow. By the time we reach the turning point, it feels less like a sudden tragedy and more like an inevitable truth. Something that has been waiting for them in the distance all along. This is where the most heartbreaking scene begins to reveal its face, and it does so with a cruel tenderness. The moment starts not with anger, but with stillness. A letter is placed on a table. The ink is not yet dry, and the words written on it carried more weight than any battle ever could. It is a letter of goodbye, final in tone, but heavy with the knowledge that life is about to demand a sacrifice. Jamie's hand lingers on the paper as though he wants to stop the words from leaving, as though if he just holds them long enough, he can change what they mean. Claire enters, her steps soft, her eyes searching his face for the truth she does not want to hear it. In this silence, the audience feels their hearts tighten. The pain of this scene is not in what is said, but in what cannot be said. Their voices are steady, almost too steady, as though speaking calmly might keep the world from falling apart. Claire reminds him of their promises. Jamie answers with a gaze that speaks louder than any vow. Both know that promises cannot shield them from the cost of love. Here lies the cruelest. Cut love does not protect them. It asks them to endure even greater pain. The space around them seems to fold in. The walls feel closer, the fire burns lower, and even the air grows heavy, as though time itself is pressing down. This is where Outlander's power lies, in turning a simple moment between two people into something that feels like the weight of history itself. We realize that this is not just a parting of lovers. It is a collision between destiny and devotion, and neither side will walk away whole. Claire's hands tremble only once, when she reaches for him and he takes her hand with a grip that says everything he cannot speak aloud. It is in that grip that we understand the truth. He is ready to let her go if it means she survives, and she is ready to follow him anywhere, even if it means her own undoing. This is not a fight against enemies. It is a fight against the cruel mathematics of time, and it is one battle they cannot win. By the end of this section, audience knows they are witnessing the seed of heartbreak fully bloom. The scene strips away all noise and leaves only two souls, bound by love, but forced apart by fate. It is raw, it is intimate, and it is merciless. What hurts the most is not the loss itself, but the knowledge that they both see it coming and still choose love, even when love cannot save them. The most heartbreaking scene in Season 8 arrives not with a roar, but with a breath. The air feels different. The world itself seems to pause, as if it knows what is about to unfold. The camera does not rush, lingers on details, the flicker of a candle fighting against the dark, the scrape of a chair pushed back across wooden floors, the quiver in a hand that tries to stay steady. These are not grand gestures, yet they cut deeper than steel. This is where Outlander shows that tragedy is not always about death or war. Sometimes it is about the quiet decision to let go of the person you love most in order to save them. The scene opens with Claire seated at the table, her medical tools beside her, though she is not using them. They rest untouched, reminders of the many lives she has saved, but in this moment, she cannot save the one she cares about most. Across from her, Jamie stands as if torn between staying and walking away. His shadow stretches across the floor, long and heavy, a reflection of the weight pressing on him. He begins to speak, not with fire, not with anger, but with a calm that is more frightening than rage. He tells her that time has asked for something they cannot deny. That history is pulling him one way and her survival demands another. Claire listens, but her silence is louder than any protest. She has always fought, always argued, always challenged fate itself, but now she does not interrupt. The heartbreak lies in that silence, because silence is surrender. Her eyes hold tears that do not fall, as if even her body refuses to accept what her mind already knows. When she finally answers, her voice is gentle, and it shatters us more than any scream could. She tells him that love is not meant to be easy, that they were never promised forever, only the time they could steal. It is both a goodbye and a vow, wrapped together. The room itself seems alive with memory. The walls that have heard their laughter, the fire that has burned during their most tender nights, the windows that have looked out over their shared life, all of it now witnesses this breaking. The camera may show small objects, a cup still warm from tea, a shawl draped over a chair, each one suddenly infused with the weight of finality. These ordinary things become sacred, because after this moment, they will never be ordinary again. And then, there is touch. Jamie reaches for Claire's hand, and this time, he does not let go. His thumb brushes across her knuckles, slow, deliberate, as if memorizing the shape of her skin. Claire's other hand rises to his face, her palm resting against his cheek, as though she can hold time still by touching him. The silence between them is thick, a silence that says goodbye more clearly than words. It is in this stillness that the heartbreak blooms fully, because the audience realizes they are watching two people break not because of lack of love, but because their love is too great to risk destroying the other. The power of this scene lies in its restraint. There are no loud strings of music, no thunder crashing outside. Just two souls whispering their last promises in a room that suddenly feels too small for their love. By the time the scene fades, we are left not with closure but with an IK, hollow in the chest that stays long after the episode ends. The heartbreak is not in the parting alone, but in the knowledge that love has done everything it could. And still, it was not enough. The scene is over, but its echo does not fade. It lingers in the hearts of the audience, pressing down like a stone that refuses to move. For longtime fans, the heartbreak is not only in what Jamie and Claire endure, but in the fact that we too must let go. Outlander has built its power on the bond between characters and viewers. We have walked with them across centuries, shared their triumphs, and carried their pain. Season 8 twists that bond into something both beautiful and unbearable, leaving us shaken long after the screen goes dark. Reactions ripple like shockwaves. Some fans sit in silence, unable to speak, because silence feels truer than words. Others turn to forums and social spaces, searching for comfort and shared grief. writing about how they had to pause the episode, how they cried before they even knew why. For many, the moment feels too real, too raw, as if they themselves have lost someone dear. Outlander has always blurred the line between story and reality, and here it cuts deepest. The heartbreak divides people too. Some call it brave writing, a perfect reflection of the cost of love and time. They argue that the story has always promised pain as much as joy, that this scene proves Outlander will never betray its own truth. Others call it cruel, asking why. After so much loss and endurance, our beloved characters were not allowed peace. This debate becomes part of the grief itself, a way for fans to wrestle with emotions too heavy to carry alone. In fan discussions, comparisons bloom. Viewers recall other devastating moments: the Battle of Culloden, Brianna's suffering, the separations forced by the stones. Yet again and again, they return to Season 8, to this quiet breaking, because it does something different. It does not shock with sudden violence or war. It hurts in the most human way possible, through a choice made out of love. That difference leaves a scar, because we know this kind of pain exists in our own lives. For many, the most heartbreaking part is not the scene itself, but what it represents. This moment reminds us that stories, like lives, must end. Is approaching its final chapters, and fans see this scene as a warning of what is coming. The ache is not just for Jamie and Claire, but for us. Because we realize we are nearing the end of a journey we never wanted to leave. The heartbreak belongs to the characters, yes, but it belongs to the viewers too. And yet, there is something strangely uniting in this grief. Fans share poems, sketches, playlists, creations born out of sorrow. They reach out to each other across time zones, across languages, across screens. Just as Jamie and Claire's love endures through centuries, the love fans feel for the story endures through heartbreak. In this way, the scene does not only wound, it binds. It makes a community out of mourning, a family out of pain. By the close of this section, it is clear the most heartbreaking scene of Season 8 is not just a piece of fiction. It is a mirror held up to the audience, asking us to face loss, asking us to endure love's cost, and reminding us that sometimes the greatest stories break us so they can stay with us forever. What makes this scene unforgettable is not only the tears it brings, but the way it forces us to face the oldest themes Outlander has carried since the beginning. Fate, time, sacrifice, these are not just words spoken by characters. They are forces that shape every heartbeat of this story. In Season 8, the heartbreaking moment becomes more than a scene between Jamie and Claire. It becomes a meditation on what it means to love in a world where nothing lasts forever. Fate has always been their unseen companion. From the first time Claire stepped through the stones, her life has been tied to paths she never chose. The stones did not ask permission. History did not bend for her. And yet through all of this, she chose love again and again. Jamie, too, has been dragged by fate through wars, prisons, and oceans, but he has always anchored himself to her. Now, in Season 8, we see that even love cannot break free of fate. Instead, fate bends love into shapes that test its strength. The heartbreaking scene is not a punishment. It is the final proof that even the greatest love cannot escape the thread of destiny. It can only endure within it. Time, too, is not simply a backdrop. It is the antagonist, the rival, the relentless tide that pulls and takes. Outlander has never let us forget that time is both gift and thief. It grants reunions that feel like miracles, but it also demands losses that feel unbearable. Most heartbreaking scene of Season 8, time becomes almost a character itself, standing between them, whispering that every moment they have stolen must one day be repaid. Watching Jamie and Claire acknowledge this truth is devastating, because we realize they have known it all along. Every kiss, every promise, every glance was made with the knowledge that it could be the last. Then there is sacrifice, the most human of all themes. This scene is drenched in it. Jamie sacrifices his need to hold her close, because letting her go might save her life. Claire sacrifices her resistance, because fighting his choice would only break them further. Here is not noble in the way of battle or victory. It is quiet, invisible, the kind that happens in kitchens and bedrooms and whispered conversations. It is the kind of sacrifice we recognize in our own lives, the kind that makes this moment not just a story, but a reflection of truth. Together, these themes make the heartbreak feel inevitable. It is not simply that a goodbye is spoken. It is that we finally see all the forces that have been circling them since the very first season close in at once. Fate reminds them that their story was always fragile. Time reminds them that nothing lasts. Sacrifice reminds them that love is strongest when it hurts the most. This is why the heartbreak feels so deep, because it does not belong only to Jamie and Claire. It belongs to anyone who has ever loved, lost, and endured. By the end of this section, the scene takes on a meaning larger than itself. It is not only a moment in a series, it is a truth whispered to us through the screen that to love is to risk breaking. That to give yourself to another is to invite fate, time, and sacrifice into your home. And though it leaves us shattered, we understand why this story could never have ended without reminding us of that cost. In the end, Outlander Season 8 does what the greatest stories must do. It does not simply entertain us, it leaves a mark. The most heartbreaking scene is not just a farewell between two characters, it is a farewell to innocence, to the illusion. That love alone can conquer all. We watch Jamie and Claire, bound by time, yet torn by it, and we feel the weight of their sacrifice as if it were our own. The silence, the trembling touch, the calm voices hiding storms inside these details, carve themselves into memory. They remind us that heartbreak is not a flaw in love, but proof of its depth. As the scene closes, we are left with an ache that words cannot ease. We carry the image of a letter left behind, a hand that lingers too long, a face turned away not because of lack of devotion, but because devotion demands surrender. This is the cruel beauty of Outlander. It gives us love that feels eternal, then shows us how fragile eternity really is. The heartbreak does not fade when the episode ends. It follows us, whispering that even the greatest love stories must one day bow to time, and yet within the pain, there is something enduring. Outlander has never been about easy joy. It has been about survival, about choosing love when the world makes it nearly impossible. Season 8 proves once more that love's greatest strength is not in avoiding heartbreak, but in carrying it. That is why this scene feels larger than television. It feels like a lesson, a reflection of what it means to be human. To love deeply is to break deeply, but it is also to live fully. For fans, this moment will stand among the most unforgettable in the series. Some will call it cruel, some will call it perfect, but all will remember it. Perhaps that is the true legacy of Outlander, that it leaves us changed, not just entertained. It reminds us that stories matter because they make us feel what we cannot escape in life itself. Love, time, sacrifice woven together into a single moment that will haunt us long after the final credits roll. So, as the music fades and the screen darkens, the question remains, was this the saddest moment in Outlander? Or was it the truest? Did it break you, or did it show you why love is worth every break it brings?